Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to my back porch and also part 2 of our episode with Dr. Stephanie Ray. You are going to freaking love it. She is the founder and creator of bioray.com. We're going to talk about how to boost male and female fertility, how to increase sex drive, how to deworm our kids, how to deworm ourselves, how to support our liver, how to support our adrenals, how to do all sorts of things that we have all wondered and thought, oh, this is just normal symptoms. And it's not, guys. It's not. It's our toxin bucket overflowing. So you are going to love this conversation. Let's just get right into it with Dr. Stephanie Ray.
Welcome to Under the Sun podcast. I'm Ilea.
And I'm Irene. Grab a cup of coffee and your comfiest sweats and join us every Monday as two best friends discuss everything from raising free-range gremlins to business and really everything under the sun.
Let's get started, and thanks for being here.
That kind of takes me into a product question, because we've had a lot of people when we've talked about the kid drops say, oh, my kid's having emotional outbursts or mood swings or tantrums. And I know with my daughter specifically, if I notice she's having some issues and she's scratching her booty a lot and she's potty trained, but she has to like climb on the toilet herself. She has to wipe herself. She's not, I'm like, okay, you are full of worms. But every time I give her happy, I can guarantee in the middle of the night, sometime in the middle of the night or right before bed, she's going to have a big outburst of just anger and tantrum. And she's not a really big tantrumy kid. She's the second kid, so she's more verbal with her demands, but it's so interesting. What I guess twofold. If someone's child is having a lot of bursts throughout the day, which mine isn't, do you recommend Happy to kind of start that out? And I love that it's named Happy, because it's like I can usually say, oh, you're kind of irritable, let's give you Happy. But what in the system would cause her to have a big outburst later?
Well, are her bowels moving every day?
Yes, mostly.
Okay.
I'd say mostly.
Mostly. Okay, so that's really important when we're going after these unwanted organisms, which is, by the way, just a difference. For some reason, FDA considers parasites a disease claim. And I said, I got into a discussion with them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I looked it up. It's a noun.
Yeah, okay.
Nowhere does it say that's a disease.
Yeah.
But we went around, they were in my office for 3 days, and we went around about it. And I said, okay, I've come up with something. How is unwanted organisms? And they said, okay, we can live with that.
Okay.
So we talk about it as unwanted organisms. And for Happy to work really, really well, you've got to make sure the bowels are moving, because that's the primary route that they leave.
Okay.
The other thing is there might be Calm and Happy work really well together. She may have a little bit of needing some liver support. Like she might have some liver chi, what we call liver chi stagnation. So the liver's not able to process how much is going on, because the liver's a big filter. It's not actually an organ, it's a filtration system. And so if it's full because of all the exposure to different things, which happens, all of us have it. As the liver supported and helping things move through, you'll see that decrease a lot.
Okay. Do you recommend combining them all together, or doing like a few days of Calm and then a few days of Happy, or doing it? Normally, if I do it, since I don't know, I am just guessing, I'll give her Calm, Happy, and Tummy at the same time.
Those are great.
And then just mix them all in the same little thing, and she'll
How
just
many
drink it down.
days in a stint do you
Not
recommend?
super consistent while I have the business, because my bucket was full. So I would remember for 2 days in a row, and then I'd go to work the next 4 days and forget, or I'd give it sporadically. But
so the thing that I like to do is when my kids were really little, I would put it in a cup in the morning with a little grape juice, purple grape juice. And you want to do it twice a day for 2 weeks. Take a week off and then do it for 2 more weeks. So you get the eggs that hatch on the second go, and then you're good.
Okay.
For a good at least 6 months.
Okay,
awesome. That's good to know.
That's amazing to know, because that's a question we get a lot. And also we get the question of like, how would a baby or a toddler get a parasite?
Because they stick everything in their mouth.
No, they're like, well, we have gotten the comment of, my kid hasn't been out of the country. My kid doesn't eat sushi. Like, what do you? Like they just eat dino nuggets, and I'm like, kids are so gross.
You just need to go like this.
Yeah.
It's the hands. So they play in the dirt. The eggs are in the dirt. Snails carry liver flukes if kids play with snails, and right. But it's mainly through the nails. So there's two doctors, Dr. Kenneth Seaton and Dr. Omar Amin. So both of them are unwanted organisms specialists. And they both went separately to 2 4-star restaurants and took scrapings underneath the nail bed of 100% of the staff, from the maitre d' to the sous chef to the chef to the busboys, everybody. And they found 100% of fecal matter under the nails or around the cuticle.
Oh, okay. No. Around the cuticle.
Around the cuticle.
That makes me sweat.
I know, or itch, right? Yeah. You're just like, no, this isn't right. And so what their determination was people we've lost how to wash hands properly. And so the proper way to wash hands is you soap up, but then you take the nail from this hand and you go, oh, sorry, my finger. You go underneath the nail and then you push the nail cuticle around, and you do it on every single finger, and then you switch.
Every single hand wash?
No.
Oh, okay.
You only need to do it once a day.
Oh, okay.
And I've done a little computing because we've been talking about this for over 15 years. Is it will take away about 70% of those eggs, and so that's just a really great way to take a big dent in the exposure.
Now here's another question. I don't know if you could answer that kind of ties into that, because you need soap, because you can't just go to, and people died all the time when there was no soap. You need soap, but using a soap, that's not gonna do harm. But if we're at a restaurant and my kid goes to the bathroom in a public restaurant, it's like, you're using the restaurant soap, because I'd rather you have those chemicals than eat whatever you just touched on this toilet. But
if you're doing
what
the
soaps
kids
do you
line,
recommend? If that even makes a difference?
It does to a certain degree. But if you're doing the kids products, there's micronized chlorella in there that's going to bind to those chemicals anyway.
Okay. So if they use a chemical soap wash at a restaurant,
I bet that gives a lot of moms some grace.
That would give me some grace, because even now I'm like, I don't want you using this soap, but also I don't want you not using this soap.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. We can fix afterwards. We can fix the exposure to the chemical soap. But I use a lot of different soaps that are natural. It's so easy now to go into, whether it's my local co-op or, they have all kinds of natural soaps. They definitely feel different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, they don't have the sapin, or what do they call it? Yeah, the
sodium
sapins that make
sulfate.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
That make it really bubbly. But the other way, to get back to how do we get them? So mainly the main one is that the eggs live in and around the nail bed. But the other thing is pets, cats and dogs. So that's and you want to be a normal family.
Yeah.
So just doing it every 6 months, a minimum to a year, but sometimes some people need 6 months, just depending.
Because you can't live your life in fear. Like you said, you do want to be normal. If your kids want a puppy, that's fine. It's just,
what about our 33 chickens and 2 dogs?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to be, And the thing about, what Seaton and Amin found, doctors Seaton and Amin found, is that that's in every restaurant in America. So if you eat out more than if a person eats out more than two times a day at a restaurant, they need to be aware that they need to be doing something like Happy, or in the adult line, it's Microbe Slayer.
Yeah.
And just, you can do that as a preventative, as 2 dropperfuls before the meal.
Okay. Oh. What do you recommend for the adult protocol?
For unwanted organisms, I would make sure that liver, the bowels are moving.
Okay.
Right? So you've got good to go if they're not, but the bowels are moving, then liver, and then Microbe Slayer.
Okay. And
Same
then the
good
same
names.
2 weeks
Good
on
names.
2 weeks on, 1
Thank
week
you.
off.
2 weeks
2,
on.
1, 1.
So it's
Right?
the
Yeah,
same
so
for
a
kids and
total
adults.
of 5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
And then
amazing.
we have parents who have kids that are what I call yeasty. They just like that's kind of their thing they came in with.
Yeah.
They can stay unhappy for a long time, and they
Okay.
do. Yeah.
And that was another one of
It-
my questions I wrote down. Do you become does the body become dependent on any of them, like pooper? If you start taking pooper or good to go, is there any point where you should stop taking it and let the body rest? Or is it with natural herbs, do they work where you can just flow with them?
You can wean off of them. You want to get the body going. Say, for example, if a child has really had sluggish bowels for a long time, like, years, you may even have to quadruple the initial dose for 2 days to get it loosened up because pooper moistens and lubricates the intestines. And so kids will actually feel it moving around.
Wow.
Okay.
And so they'll make sometimes, like, I call it the Charlie Brown squiggly face. They're like, what is going on? Because they're feeling it. And then they'll have a bowel movement, but it's never runny. Eventually it should be worked out of a job.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing we do should ever be that you need it forever, unless it's your constitutional remedy that like, oh, this really helps me. I have remedies like that. I do them on the regular, but I like that.
Yeah.
So, but I would say that, maybe it's like a 3 times a week maintenance.
Okay.
Once things are under where you want them to be, under control where you want them to be.
Yeah.
Because we're always exposed to sometimes poor food choices, or it's things that are in the environment that we want to keep binding to those and having those move out of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How often, because we hear the talk about binders a lot, and we both worked with different practitioners about binders, like when it comes to the environmental toxins that are happening, or just the toxins that are in our food, even though we can make the best choices, some things are just, under the radar. What is your thought on how often do you take a binder? Like, does your body need it all of the time? Okay. Every day?
Well, I do every day.
Okay.
I mean, I'm living in Southern California. We were in LA proper, high pollution, whether it's in the air, in the water. Yes, we have lots of water systems, reverse osmosis systems. But if I go out to a restaurant and it's not an option to get bottled water and I'm thirsty, I'm going to drink the tap water.
Yeah.
I don't want to be freaked out. Oh my God, I'm poisoning my body. So
Because
I
that
just
stress
know
isn't good for your brain
your
either.
digestion, your eating, nothing. So I make sure that I'm on something that I'm keeping. Number one, the liver's going to take the brunt of environmental pollution too. It's the primary organ system that's processing those toxins. So making sure I make sure my bowels are moving, the liver is strong, and that I've got binders on. And frankly, I do it twice a day. It's just easier for me. And the thing about herbs is the body processes them as a food. It's as if you ate a salad or some kind of vegetable blend. They have the same beneficial phytochemicals that our foods do. So
I
you
love that.
can't
Herbs.
I
overdose.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm learning about things now. So like the book recommendations are really great because I don't know if you can see it because our screen is cut off, but I have a book, a side table that is like every single drawer is filled with some type of health book that I need to finish. I've started or need to finish.
Do you take your binders separate from anything else though, or is an herbal binder different than like a
That's a great question.
manufactured supplement binder?
A herbal binder is different. It does work with the body.
Okay.
So
it's never going to like deplete your own personal nutrients.
No.
Okay.
We did some studies and showed that the chlorella in our products, when we did a heavy metal analysis, but also a beneficial mineral profile along with it, is it acted like an adaptogen. Where if the baseline somebody was high in magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, for example. After about 2 to 4 weeks on any products of ours with our micronized chlorella, it actually came into range. Likewise, if somebody was low, it brought them up into range.
Quickly interrupting this conversation to let you know that we've partnered with BioArray so that you guys can get 10% off your order, because I'm sure you're listening to this and thinking, my kid has worms. I have worms. I want to support my liver. I don't want to feel sluggish all the time. I want to have energy that God has given me and not let all the things that are bombarding my system to just wear me down. So go to bioarray.com. You can click where to start, or you can just go right to the product that Dr. Ray has mentioned and use code UTSP10, and honestly, you will not regret it. Okay, let's get back to the conversation.
So it's kind of interesting because empirically, chlorella does not have the designation as an adaptogen, but it acts that way in the Western testing that we've done.
Okay.
So you can take it with food. You can take it on an empty stomach, and it won't bind to drugs. The only, I take that back, the only drug we've ever seen it bind to is synthetic testosterone.
Oh, okay.
But no other drugs. People on seizure, they have their kids on seizure medications. It doesn't bind to Lamictal or Depakote or any of those. So I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
But it was just something clinically we noted, and so we do share that information.
Yeah. I love that you test everything too.
Yeah.
That's just so nice.
It's the interesting part, and that's really my personal mission is to see how we can marry Chinese medicine with what our Western doctors know for testing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought, like, what the hell, why not?
Yeah.
Why not test what Chinese herbs are doing according to Western paradigms? And it ended up being a really great, because a Western doctor doesn't understand what damp heat is, or just some of the terms that Chinese medicine uses, because they're a little bit more poetic, like this thing like evil wind.
Yeah.
A doctor's like going, I don't know what you're talking about, lady.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's gas.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, why didn't you say so?
Yeah.
So that's really my
You're a translator.
passion. Yeah, some sort of translation there. Yeah.
Yeah.
A meeting of, I want them to understand herbs are where all of our original Western medications came from. They have a source in plants. So Valium comes from a flower.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Valium's great for calming nerves and for other reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to run through your questions?
Yeah. Do you, I know the bottle has droppers by weight. Do you have a way of testing yourself? Because we're very, at this point, I think decently good at listening to our body. So it's like, how much did you take? It's like, I don't know, go with your gut and I'll just go for it. But is there a way to test? I mean, I trust our intuition, but it'd be nice to know if I can self-test. Like, I don't know. What are my questions?
Like on how much to give your kid?
How much to give your kid, or how much even for yours? Normally I just hold the bottle and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like taking 8 drops of this. But is there more of a scientific to kind of cross that, like, I hate to say it, but like woo-woo of, I don't know, I feel like taking 8 drops with, I need this many, without having someone else test for you?
Yes. So there's something called ingestion testing. And it's not an exact science, but if you take the pulse and the pulse is normal, and then you give the amount of drops you are thinking, say it's 4 dropperfuls.
Okay.
But your mind was thinking 8. So you're like, well, let me try half of that. Let's just like incrementally go up. And you put 4 dropperfuls in your mouth, and then you test like a few minutes later, you test your pulse. If it increases and becomes rapid, you're too much.
Okay.
Okay.
If it stays the same, you're good.
Okay.
And you can keep doing that with your drops. You could do it with your kid. You could do it with yourself.
Okay.
And that's just I mean, you're really measuring biochemically how your body responded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. What about like a kid who I'm just going to use my kid as an example. She's
Sure.
she's had a great diet for her whole life. She's still nursing, almost 2, trying to wean. It's not going well. She loves pumpkin seeds, okay? But she chews them, but like they don't come out digested. Why? Is it her spleen? Is it her liver?
Well, it's chewing.
Well, she's not chewing. Like she's not chewing.
That's what I mean.
But like,
Right?
shouldn't her shouldn't that break it down a little? But like just
No.
whole handfuls of pumpkin
Yeah.
seeds come out, and I'm like, what is happening?
I know, right? But her tummy isn't full of like dissolve-all.
You're right.
It,
Yes.
You know, it's like got like it's an appropriate amount of acids to break things down and enzymes to
Right.
break things down. And macerating our food does a number of things. It's not just making food into smaller bits. There's actually enzymes in our saliva that help break it down. So the more we chew, the more it becomes pre-digested. And the brain gets the information, has time to get the information about what's coming. And then when it goes down to the gut's like, oh, we can handle this. This is like you gave us, I don't know, oatmeal for lack of a better thought of something right now, but something that is actually digestible. The body, actually, stomach is not made to digest whole things. But we actually had a patient who would eat an entire sandwich in 2 bites.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, and you're wondering why you get stomach aches.
Yeah.
Because you have a big fat sandwich just sitting there.
No.
And I get you're like in construction, but you're going to have to just take the time to chew.
Yeah.
Because that's pre-digesting your food. You have these enzymes. You'll even quantify your saliva and those beneficial enzymes by chewing well. There's studies showing that you'll make more.
Okay.
And so anyway, his gut problems got worked out. It took about 7 months, but it took some time for him to retrain himself.
Yeah. That's hard because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have a friend of ours. She used to say that like the school system, like going to the cafeteria and like having to rush to eat her food, like she prided herself on like, I can finish a meal in like 3 minutes. Like she's like, I got it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I know actually a lot of people who are
Yeah.
like that. And it's
Yeah.
really hard to actually just force yourself to sit and slow down and
Yeah.
chew your food and like,
Yeah.
you know, come to like, you know, we pray before we eat our food, but like it's hard to like slow down and not just like
Yeah.
scarf it down and like try to get back to,
Yes.
you know, doing farm
Yeah.
chores or something. But
Yes.
I'll try to
Go ahead.
I try to like, I'll put like a pumpkin seed in my mouth and be like, look, Leo. And she's just like, swallow like they're, I don't know, some type of candy that you swallow.
And pumpkin seeds are so great for unwanted organisms. They're a natural for that. So, I mean, it's not that it's not harming her unless she feels bad from it or got a distended
It's just
stomach or
alarming in the
something.
diaper. I'm not going to lie. Someday she's
Yeah,
going to watch
you
this
see
and
it
be
and
like, Mom. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh no, is it hurt? No, it's something. But it's a funny thing to be a parent in this information age of like, what are we supposed to be concerned about? How, like we're observant of our kids. Like we're just, you know, we're their experts. And learning your kids to
They're
try to
their
then
filter.
yeah, we're trying to do the best we can for them by learning. So I'm like, okay, is this a digestion issue? And so it's helpful to hear that from you that, you know, like she just needs to chew her food. Like it's not that complicated. Just chew the food.
Yeah.
That helps because, you know, in
Not
my
like
mom,
she's lacking enzymes.
I'm like,
She
oh
just
my
isn't
gosh.
chewing.
I'm like, is it something with her gut microbiome? Should
Yeah.
I panic? You know?
Yeah.
So thank you for
you're
putting peace
welcome.
to my little mama heart.
We talk to parents about we play the choo-choo game. Like a
Okay.
train and going choo-choo and, you know, they have to wait. They have
Yeah.
to chew while you're saying choo-choo.
Okay.
And then you can stop.
Oh.
But for an adult, ideally a person is chewing their food actually till it's almost a liquid, like 25 to even some people up to 50, macerations.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that it does is it's actually very healthy for the teeth and the bones in the teeth to chew well.
Okay.
That's another thing that becomes missing if people are swallowing their food whole. There's like a reason for everything.
Yeah.
Like God didn't make us to chew our food for no reason. It
Yeah.
has like 7 really important things that it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Because like also, I've also been learning, I'm a glutton for information. So I
Yeah.
have books and podcasts and things I'm listening to because I just love to learn. But also like the narrowing of the palate over the years. And I wonder if that has like a correlation of like, we've just suddenly been scarfing our food down and maybe, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
affecting our skulls generationally.
That's an interesting thing to consider.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any more questions?
Yes. 2, if you have time.
Yeah, I'm so sorry we've ran
Yeah,
over.
we just keep going. But if you're good on
Yeah,
time.
let's keep going.
What, as we're going into spring, what do you recommend for seasonal allergies? I guess both for adults and children, just to kind of help the body prep for those.
Oh, absolutely. So number 1, the adrenal system's going to be massively affected.
Okay.
So those are, they're really small. They sit on top of the kidney and they're these little bean shaped organs that control our ability to deal with things in the air that create seasonal issues with histamine. Actually, it's making histamine high. So there's itching, there's, just being aggravated. That's a sign of histamines. For some children that are massively affected by histamine, you might see automatic little erections on boys. You might see little girls rubbing their pelvis on things like the arm of a couch and things like that. It's because it actually inflames it and makes it itchy.
Okay.
So I call it the embarrassing signs of spring.
Interesting.
And or the dark side of spring. And
Yeah.
people don't talk about that, but it's happens in a lot of our kids, and parents think there's something like it's mental. It's not mental at all. It's a physical, biological thing happening. And so you want to supporting the adrenal system and then binding with our micronized chlorella. So for kids, it would be focus is excellent during the season. And then for adults, it would be, for teens, it would be thinking cap. And then, oh my God, why am I blanking on that? I'm turning around to look. It's mind focus for adults. Yes. And then if adults need even more adrenal support, they would do loving energy.
Okay. Then that kind of ties into another question. Is the difference between all 3 lines, is it just potency, or are there different ingredients in each one as well?
It depends. Some of the, like, say, for example, the liver formula for adults to kids is a little bit different.
Okay.
Because
so if we run out of the kids, don't just lessen the drops for the adults, per se.
The adults has some medicinal mushrooms that help with things like with your large intestines when it backs up and creates things like SIBO symptoms. So the kids don't need that.
Okay.
Very, very few that need that, And by the way, you would just massage the ileocecal valve anyway that gets stuck open or
That
closed.
happened to me at the chiropractor like years
Did it?
ago. Yeah, because again, one of those things, sorry to go off on a tangent, but I did not know, and this is when I was Dave and I weren't married, so I was maybe early 20s, maybe 21, 22. I did not know pooping like 10 times a day, mostly diarrhea, was not normal. Because, and then and that and a bunch of other things. But she was like, oh, you're whatever you just said, the ileocecal valve. And she like massaged my stomach and it hurt. And then my digestion was normal. It hurt. But it, she was like, your thing is just stuck open. It's like, it's just open and it's.
Exactly.
And she did some painful stuff and it was like.
Isn't it amazing?
Well, but then it is amazing because then like she knows, she's my hairdresser. And so my hair just never grows. Like I got a pixie cut when I was 16 and it just stopped. It barely ever grew. Like nothing ever, nutritionally, I think it was just all leaving. I think I was skinny fat because like I was like very unhealthy, but I was very skinny because I was just pooping out all my nutrients. I doubt I absorbed much.
Sure.
So that's interesting. Sorry to throw you on a tangent
that's good.
there.
I was just curious if
I heard that and it made me remember.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really good point because there's kids that have stomach aches in the mornings, like after they eat. Well, the ileocecal valve is stuck.
Oh.
So you take your 4 fingers, mom takes the 4 fingers and places them on just above the hip bone. Sorry, I can't
In the
show
front
you.
or the back?
But in the front,
Okay.
let me see if I can go down
Yeah.
right
Okay.
here.
Okay.
And so this is going to be the ileocecal valve. So you would just massage this up and down,
Okay.
just gently.
Yeah.
So whether it's stuck in the open position or the closed position, because it could be either. You had it where it was open and creating
Yeah.
really loose stools. So what that'll do is, I had to do that with Max for almost our younger boy for about 3 years. After breakfast, he'd get a stomach ache, and you're about to go to school, and you're like, oh my God, now I got to. But I'd tell him lay down, and I would massage his ileocecal valve, and it's literally for like less than a minute.
Okay.
And I'd say, how's your tummy? And he'd say, it's all gone, Mommy.
That's
And-
amazing.
Yeah.
And then
So
as he
that's a
grows
really-
up, he could just be like, oh, let me just rub this real quick and
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
Well, I'm going to try it. 'Cause
Exactly.
my daughter, she'll come up to me or my husband because we've been bouncing her belly since before she could talk. And just today, she's like, I get a belly ache, bounce me. So I'll have to lay her over my knee and just bounce my knee until her stomach calms
Oh.
down. But
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do
Do you
the
think that's what it
massage
is?
instead. Because I mean, pretty much where that would be right about her pelvic bone usually goes
Yeah.
on one side of my knee and her rib cage on
That's
the other,
so
and I'll bounce it.
interesting.
And we'll bounce, and
Yeah.
she'll just get up. She's like, okay, I'm better. Bye. And she's like, okay, see ya. So maybe I'll just
That's
try to rub it
amazing.
instead of. I have like we.
Yeah,
my
I'll
husband and
be-
I joke that we each have one calf muscle that's significantly stronger than the other because she will not. She will not flip the other way. We've tried to let's switch knees. My knee's tired. Nope. She wants to go on that one direction.
Interesting.
She'll bounce
And it's
first
on the
and
right
bounce.
side. Is that what you said?
It's on the right
Yep.
side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think the only other question I have is, do you have a recommendation for someone who's wanting to get pregnant? Because we know stack your prenatal, start all of those things. But on an herbal side, what do you recommend is a good starting point?
So I'll talk about men and then women.
Okay.
We're different. Okay.
Quickly interrupting this conversation to let you know that we've partnered with BioArray so that you guys can get 10% off your order, because I'm sure you're listening to this and thinking, my kid has worms. I have worms. I want to support my liver. I don't want to feel sluggish all the time. I want to have energy that God has given me and not let all the things that are bombarding my system to just wear me down. So go to bioarray.com. You can click where to start, or you can just go right to the product that Dr. Ray has mentioned and use code UTSP10, and honestly, you will not regret it. Okay. Let's get back to the conversation.
So
Because we do
for
a lot of the
women-
work and we just hand our husbands things, but maybe we should put
My
him to work
husband
this next time.
Yeah, my husband jokes. I did make him do a detox the first time,
I did not.
but I
should've.
hand my husband a pile of pills, and he's
Yeah.
like, "You could kill me one day,"
Yep.
and I would just take my own
He'd
poison.
never know.
He would
He'd
never
just say,
know.
like, yeah, I'm taking my own poison.
Yeah, and I'm like, just recognize the power that I have, and I'm choosing to keep you alive. You're
Exactly.
welcome. But no, I told my husband, I was like, especially, we're in probably the fall going to try to have a second kid, maybe, and then, but I'm like, you have to stop keeping your phone in your front
Yeah.
pocket, stop
Yeah,
radiating
that's
your
very
voice,
true.
stop doing that. So
Yes.
this will be great information. I'll cut this out. I'll send it to him. I'll be like, listen to this. Dr. Ray says to do this, and it's important for conception. Anyways.
So, well, to talk about men, really making sure that their bowels are moving and the liver's working really well, because we want things to leave. So the biggest thing for them is that they tend to hold on to toxins, and then women do too, but they don't. We're going to get into it with women, but women have this whole luteal phase that we need to make sure about our blood. Okay, so they're different where that's not an issue for them. And so we want to make sure that the liver's also processing good and bad hormones properly. So the liver has over 500 functions it performs every day, from cholesterol, making cholesterol, storing it, same with hormones. It's filtering out latent yeast, virus, bacteria. It's amazing. We consider it the general of the army in traditional Chinese medicine because it has so many tasks it performs. So with men, that liver function is going to really be important, because we want to go after a systemic detox for men and really clean up the cells so that their little marching men down there are in good shape, right? So they've got the thing about sperm is that they've got the right shape to be able to penetrate an egg. So that's
Okay.
one of the findings today, is that men's sperm isn't the right shape. It's mutated so that it can actually penetrate an egg.
Oh.
Okay.
So we want to clean it up so it can get the right shape and form, and then also multiply. So it's and also be good swimmers. So you've got motility and mobility, and so doing a deep systemic cleanse is really important. Just 6 weeks would do it, and then making sure they're doing plenty of loving energy and red rooster. And the reason being that men and their sexuality is really a function of how well they feel they're doing as a provider. So no stress about work, no stress about, finances. So if they've got that, it could be a problem in them being able to support making a baby. And the thing that is in red rooster is it's not only good for the endocrine system and helping with stamina, staying power, but it has herbs that relax the mind. So it's also psychologically beneficial for men. So, and it has herbs that actually connect the mind to the genitals.
Okay.
So, and then for women, it's going to be important that her bowels are moving as well, and that she's supporting her luteal cycle. So really making sure the liver's involved, but also a real massive hormone balancing within the liver that also helps the other systems with progesterone and estrogen and naturally occurring testosterone in the right balances. And so we make a formula called Before the Flow, which actually I'll give you your listeners a little preview. This Mother's Day weekend, we're doing a sale and we're giving away a free bottle of Before the Flow and After the Flow.
That's awesome.
amazing. I love that you
So-
separated, because that was going to be my next question: is what do you take during it? What do you take after? When do you take it? So that's perfect. that it's
that's
already
so
there.
great that it's so Before the Flow is going to help with that. The liver, making the proper hormones and what we call pent up feelings. Like,
Okay.
do you ever wonder, what's going on and you're not like, things aren't quite right. And it might turn into being a little crabby and a little short with people. And then you have your period and you're like, oh my God, all is, right as rain. And you're like, I was about to get my period. Oh my God. I forgot my cycle.
Right.
And that gets handled with Before the Flow. It
Okay,
takes about 3 cycles and then it doesn't happen anymore. And then when I was on it,
Try it.
Yeah.
I actually would forget and I would suddenly start my period because I had absolutely no PMS symptoms.
Oh wow.
That's amazing.
And so, my former husband would say, I can't even tell that you're about to start your period because I wasn't snapping and the way I was before, years before. Then After the Flow is something you take a little bit as you've gone through your cycle for like 5 to 7, however, I had long cycles. Mine were 7 to 10. I would still be bleeding. And so, but as the blood is starting to wane and it's getting a little bit darker, that's when you add in After the Flow. And After the Flow is really high in a bunch of minerals and it helps the blood build. And so it also helps with absent-mindedness. So I was also that person that would, without Before the Flow and After the Flow, would bump into things and I'd have bruises on my legs or I would drop things.
Yep.
Those are signs of
Yes.
not enough blood nourishment.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
my husband did not believe me. He was like, "Why are you dropping stuff so much?" I was like, "Oh, I'm about to start my period." And he's like, "That's not a thing." I mean, this was like years ago. I was like, "He's like, that's not a thing." I was like, "It is a thing." I was like, "I don't
a
know
thing.
why it is, but and I
Yeah.
didn't. I don't know that if I heard it from somebody,
Probably,
but like or an
I think
observation.
it was me, because
Was it you?
years
Okay.
and years ago, I had one day at work where I had one client. It was just a haircut. I dropped 4 combs, and I was like, "What is happening today?" And it was this older lady, and she looked at it and she said, "Oh, you're ovulating." I was like, "Excuse me." And I don't know if she was right or not, but that always stuck in my head. If I have a day where I just cannot seem to keep the brush in my hand. I'm like, what? Did I forget how to do my job? I always think, well, am I ovulating? And it happened to me last week, and I wasn't ovulating. I had just like tail end of my period, but that makes more sense that it'd be more, well, either way, I guess ovulating this or that, but
either way, because it means your blood wasn't nourished before as you were about to ovulate.
That's so fascinating.
You need that replenishment. And then the other thing about it is really a woman's period should be bright red from the day she starts to the day she ends.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it shouldn't go to that brownish color. And on before the flow and after the flow, it'll stay the bright red, and it should be 28 days. Mine would begin before at the beginning in my early 20s would be like 35.
That's interesting. Okay, because mine are about 33 to 35, because we both use the Daisy to track our cycles, and mine are about 33 to 35 on average.
Yeah. So on before the flow and after the flow, it should start lessening.
Oh, I'm curious to see.
Yeah. And then after that, then have fun and add in lady passion and loving energy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So lady passion are these fiery herbs that connect the heart to the genitals.
Okay.
Meaning that we've done some studies and showing that if a woman wasn't, quote, feeling it for her partner, it wouldn't have an impact. It's not going to make her feel pro-sexual towards somebody. But when you are feeling connected to a person, I'll just say in love with a person, it is, one woman described it as being warm, wet, and tingly.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So really fun. It's we call it warms the lower burner, which is the whole genital area, or they call it the lower valley.
Okay.
And so it has herbs that also help with fertility.
Okay.
So it's going to open a woman and have that support with feeling the fire to want to make love, but also because a woman's open now, she actually becomes more available for being pregnant.
Okay.
That's amazing.
I love it.
I love the work you're doing.
Yeah. It's so great.
Thank you. It's really fun. And then loving energy, I'll just give a little information about that. That's also known as honeymooners tea. Okay. So in China, every couple who gets married gets a bottle of honeymooners tea, which we named loving energy, and we've modified it slightly for the modern world. But what it does is it replenishes the endocrine system and the adrenals so that you're ready for more.
Okay.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Do you have
That's the fun part about tonic herbalism is that really we want to get us human beings past the point of dealing with chronic and acute issues. Then we go into tonic herbalism, and that's like where you have herbs for the brain, herbs for sexuality. I mean, the Chinese were really well versed in how to expand self-expression and creativity.
Okay. Do you need to start? Do you have to get the body up to a certain level first, or can you kind of intermix together?
You can intermix them. Like, say, for example, a man or a woman has got like low back pain and gets cold hands or feet. Both Lady Passion and Red Rooster, respectively, will warm that up. That's a yang deficiency. So this replenishes that kidney yang, which is the fire. But think about loving energies, the wood for the fire. So if we don't have wood, what's the fire going to burn on? So that's why you got to make sure you're always in that balance, replenishing, burning, replenishing, burning. Yeah.
That's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah, it's super fun.
I love it. You can really... Oh, you go ahead.
I was just going to say I got pregnant with both my kids on Lady Passion.
Yeah. I love it.
So
it's tried and true.
Right.
It pretty much.
Well,
yes.
Okay, so on that same note, we only have a couple minutes left. I'm sorry we've taken so much of your time, but it's such good information.
Been so fun.
You are welcome on our podcast anytime.
Yes.
Anytime.
Thank you.
If someone's dealing with infertility, is there a roadmap that you like to give people?
There's a place called Where to Start. And I think it's like step number 8 or 9. I didn't look, but before our call here. But it's easy enough to find where to start. Look for the step, and it's about fertility.
Okay.
And it gives the main ways to start. But
Okay.
also, anytime anybody has questions, we do free consultations. We start with 15 minutes. People can sign up online or just call, and we have not only myself but product specialists that we, are herbalists, naturopaths that will talk and help people along to just figure out where to go, where to start, and
Yeah, you
where to
can
go.
really tell that you genuinely care about people, and that you're not just making these products just to make them, and that's a really beautiful.
And you're trying
thing.
them on yourself and
Yeah.
your kids.
Yeah.
And like that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I do. I love this. Like, I think I am the luckiest girl in the world that found herbs, and this is my job.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? That's how I actually feel inside.
I love it.
You can tell you
Yeah.
radiate it that you are passionate about what you're doing, and it
Thank you.
shows.
Yeah.
And we're really grateful for you and for you taking honestly almost
all
2
of your-
hours of
all
your
of your
time and us just picking your brain on about like our personal stuff, but also like for our listeners. So we
Yeah.
really appreciate you. Is there anything you want to close with? Anything you want to share or anything? Where can we direct people to connect? Well, obviously bioarray.com, but
I think that we did a really great job, the three of us, chatting about all of this. I really feel complete. I don't have anything to add other than I appreciate you two and what you're providing for moms and their families, because 87% of BioArray customers are women between the ages of 34 and 47.
wow.
Okay.
And we're the ones bringing the products into the house. And so you guys are sharing all kinds of information that we need to know, because we're the purveyors of what's in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Yep.
And thank you for what you do.
We're grateful to be here and grateful that you've been here with us today. And if anybody is interested, you can go to bioarray.com, check out all of their stuff, take their quiz. Their products are awesome. We do have a code, UTSB10 for 10% off. But thank you so
Yes.
much, Dr. Ray. You have been a wealth of
Yeah,
knowledge.
thank you.
And come on anytime.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a new
Thank
product?
you.
Come talk to us. We'll
Yes.
have questions.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Under the Sun Podcast. Bye.
Thanks for being with us today. Follow us on Instagram at underthesun_podcast. We'd love to meet you.
Please help us out by subscribing on YouTube and leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time. Please remember this information is made available to you for informational and educational purposes only. It is in no way a substitute for medical advice.